I'm going to show you how to use Figma to design a website. So in this tutorial, we're going to be designing Tesla's website from the beginning. And as you can see, this is the home page. And also we prototyped it to make sure that there is a static or sticky header and also another header that is here as well. So in this design as well, I was able to create style guides. We were able to create color guides, and we also talked about components, properties, and so much more. So you are going to be able to learn the basics of starting or building a website in Figma. Without wasting much time, let's get into it. So the first thing we need to do is get the assets. So if you're building your own website, you would have prepared your own asset. But since we are cloning or recreating Tesla's website, we need all the image and all the icon assets. So the first thing we need to do is we're going to come down to this plugin. You're going to install the plugin. You know, the plugin is CSS Paper, right? So now once you install it, it's a Chrome extension. You will be able to do what I'm able to do here. So every bit of this site, you can see all the colors that was used in the site and everything that you could ever, want. So now the most important thing is going to assets at the bottom. So by default, this is what you see. If you come down here, this is assets and you can export assets. I have already exported this, so I may not have to do this again. So now once you've already exported the assets, you would extract it to a file. So you'd use WinRAR or whatever extractor you need to, because it comes in zip file. So now, as you can see, this is all the extracted file that I have here. So the next thing that we have to do is, if you need, you can convert this to JPEG, and one of the easiest way for me to convert is double tap on it. The reason why we're converting it on JPEG is, if you open your Figma file, right? Let's say I open my Figma file and I decide to drag this AVF file here, it wouldn't work because Figma does not support AVF. So all you just have to do is double click on it, click on edit if you're using Microsoft or whatever editing tool you can use to, then all you just have to do is save as. So once you save as, to save as JPEG, right? So that is all you just have to do, to save as JPEG. Then you'd have the image and you'll be able to extract it. So that is what I did here, and I have all the images extracted. But I can also send this to you as well, so you don't have to stress. So the next thing you have to do is, we have to pull up all this extracted file into our document, and that is what we are going to do. So I'm going to take this because I don't need the image files to be in the Figma document for now, because of I would have to be importing them one after the other. So I'm going to select this, then I'm going to select all, and I'm going to import. So once I have sent all of them, I'm just going to minimize because I might need this later on. So as you can see, every of the files that you probably would need is inside here, from the icons to everything that is being used in Tesla's site. Everything is here. Cyberpunk. Then if you may probably be looking for the logo, it's also down here as well. So everything we need to build the site, the assets and everything, it's here. So the next thing we have to create is our color and text style guide. So the next thing we're going to be doing in this chapter is, we are going to be working on text and color style guide. So now, before you build any site, you would have to need to have your text style, meaning you need to know what font was built in the site. So if you go to Tesla's website, we actually need to know exactly what font was used, because we're actually recreating it, and the best way to know is to actually check. So there's one font I do use, is we call it what font. So once you click on it, you can install it, also a plugin, a Chrome extension as well. So then you can highlight on over the site and you could see what font it was used. So currently what was used was Universal Sans Display, and as you can see, I opened the website so you can check their website. So what I've not really checked very well is, there's some slight, I think Tesla modified the text a little bit, not so much but a little bit, right? So I was able to download the free trial, which you can also do. You just come down to the very bottom and put in your email and download the free trial, right? So once you download the free trial, you'd have access to it, and you have access to the Tesla font. And the good thing about this is, it can tell us what weight it is and what is the height, and if there's any other levels to it. So what we are going to do is we are just going to create the text. So as you can see, I already have different sizes here. To do this is not hard, but since I've done it, you can actually do it yourself. Take for example, now we have this. If you see, this is medium, right? And we have it's also sometimes called regular. You can put it regular, you can put it medium, depending on what word you want to make use of, right? So what I did was I made sure that I have all the sizes. If you want to add a new size, say for example, now you want to add a new one, you can say, okay, I want medium, small, then I think 10 is supposed to be the last size, but let's say you just want to have something like 9 or 8. So I put 8, right? So it may not reflect 8 here, but I would have to come here to change it because it has to reflect exactly what you put on it. So we have this. So this is how I just changed the text. So you can change the text here so that it's going to be easy for identification. So now everything is in inter, and we need to change it to the universal sans. So all I just have to do is, first of all, I'll select it. If there's one thing that's good at, is they are all in inter. So the next thing I'll have to do is I'm going to come here. I've already installed it, so I have it here, universal display, right? So this is it here. So I select it, then I have it here. So I just quickly arrange this. I like things being arranged, tidy up, right? So now you'll be asking me, okay, writing this here, how do I make sure it affects, and how we can we use it, or reusable you get? So I'm going to show you why I'm doing this, because once I do it, I don't have to always type in the text every time, and I'll show you how we're going to use it in the design. But before we go there, we have to label things properly. So now I'm going to come down here. I need to label this as my icons. It's always good to keep your designs very clean, because this is a design or website tutorial. So we have to make sure our stuffs are very, very clean, right? So I'm going to put this here, and I'm going to call these icons. This doesn't have to be in any size, but if you want to check my size, you can check this to replicate my anything I do here myself, right? So I have this, then I'm going to change the color by tapping on the frame. Then I'm going to pick something, yeah, something like this. Then I'm going to expand this a little bit, so it's going to be big enough for whoever sees this. So this is just to make our design clean and nothing much. So we're going to duplicate the same thing here, and I'm not going to call this icons, I'm just going to call this styles. So because we're going to have text styles, we're going to have color styles, we're going to have lots of other styles coming in. So this makes your work clean and presentable when you have to move it to the dev. So the next thing that we have to do here is we have to select everything, and we're going to use a plugin called Batch Styler. So for Batch Styler, we're going to pin it because it's going to be reusable. Just click on Run. So I'll show you what to do with this. So if there was an existing style on this, we'll be able to edit it, say color. So the reason why it's not showing is because of we haven't styled it yet. So I just want you to have this pinned down, right? Because we'll use it later on. Then we're going to look for styler. So now once you have styler, you have to click on it. Then we are going to click on run. Then now, when you click on run, it's going to ask you to generate, because we have to generate this style. So you may be asking, what is style, right? If you tap on an empty space in your Figma, see this is an empty space, right? You could see that there are styles here. You have different styles. If you click on the plus, you have your color style, you have your effect style, you have your layer guide style, you have your text style. So we're going to be creating our text, color, and layout guide as soon as we can. So first, let's start with the text style. So going back to this, we come back here, we come back to plugin and click on styler, click on this and click on run. So this is it, so you can see what is happening on the left hand side. Then we're going to click generate styles. So now I just say 10 generated, 1 updated. So if I click on an empty space, you could see that this is everything, as you can see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rearrange this, because I want it to start from the highest to the smallest, right? I think that, yeah, that should work. So I'm just going to bring this one down. I'm going to bring this one down. And I think we are missing somebody. This is 910. Yeah, I don't think this guy joined. Oh, okay. I see what happened here. It's called the text did not change in terms of here the label, so we have to be very very careful of that. So I'm going to call this 8 so that it doesn't confuse it. So I'm going to do it again. Okay, so I did it again, and I think since 8 is not like a default number, it's refusing to use 8, but that's not a problem because we are barely using 8 in this instance. We barely even use anything less than 8, right? So the next thing we need to be sure that every style is working is if you click on it here, you can see that instead of you selecting your normal text, this is what shows, and I'm going to show you how we're going to use this in the design. So now this is for text. The next thing we're going to go into is color. So the next thing we're going to do is the color style guide. All we just have to do first is to draw a shape, right? So, and it's also very good to name your shapes or name your color so you can easily identify it. We're going to go back to the text site, right? And we're going to go back to this plugin, CSS Paper. So now if we click on this, so if we click on colors, they are actually making use of some repeated colors, and especially we need to get the blue that was used a lot in the design. So I'm going to come down here to be very sure that this is the blue that we want to pick, because there are lots of other blue colors. So I'm going to copy this and I'm just going to call it I'm going to paste it here. Then I'm going to name it. Naming it is very important. I'm going to name it blue. Okay, so I'm going to just add a radius here just for aesthetics reasons. Then I'm going to take this because this is not white. Trust me, this is not white. It's off white. So we have to use this. Then name it off-white. You would see the reason why I'm going through all this stress in the beginning. If you're even building things like Elementor or WordPress or Webflow, these are all the things you'd even do in the beginning. So we have to also take into consideration the text color. That's the color of the text, because it is also very important. So I want to also check if that is the same dark color that is going everywhere in the site. So I'm going to paste this. Then I'm going to call it dark blue. Then I think one of the most prominent colors again is this. So let's see if it's the same color. That's 17820. Good. So we notice that the text color and the body color has a consistent color. So let's confirm from this other button to be very sure. Okay, good. So I like this. Tesla is using less colors in their design. So at their background, are they using, they're using pure white, so they have pure white for their background, so we have to put that into consideration as well. For their main background, they're using off white, and they're using white itself. So I'm going to use, bring this here and F 6 times. 1 2 3 4 5 6, that is white. So now we're going to also look at it very very well again, and I think these guys, that's a, so we're going to come here and we're going to place this. So we're going to call this gray. I'm going to call this gray. Then we have to look very carefully. This other one too is slightly different. Okay, is he still using the off-white? I'm coming, I doubt. I know the background is, if you're not too sure of what a color was used, you can simply let's say, let me cancel this because it might pick the hover color, right? I'm going to just click on my crop, so you can crop any part of your site. So I'm going to crop it and I'm going to paste it here. I want to be very sure that we are using this the right colors for the site. But I feel this is an off-white color. Yes, F4, F4, F4. I think this is okay. That is different. So now the color for this is actually different from the color for the buttons. So you see, that is one thing that we have to actually take note of. So that is a different color. So we'll call this card white, so that we know, okay, no, not this. This is an image. So we'll come here and call this card white. Okay, so now we're going to look in at it again and make sure we are not missing any other important color on the site. This is an icon, but I feel this icon would have a separate color. Let me just pick it, because one thing with design, never underestimate any color. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to go back to this. So I'm going to select this, and I'm going to preferable, we are going to just get the asset color, right? Or download the asset itself. I don't think it's downloaded alongside the assets that we have, so I'm going to download it just in case we need it. So I think it's an image rather than an icon itself, so it's an image. So I think we are done with the colors that we need. If there's any other color that we missed, we can always add it. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to add these colors to our style. So we're going to select everything here, and we're going to come back to this place. Then we are going to click on this styler. So now 6 colors generated, right? So as you can see, we have this here. So now when you look at colors, we have all our colors here, and we have all our text here. So now we have created our text style, we have created our color style. So the next thing we are going to be working on now is setting up our grid and our design file to start development of designing. Okay, so now in this chapter, we're going to create the layer guide. So now we're getting to the real thing. So this is going to be renamed to duplicates. If you're wondering how I used to duplicate, right? I click on alternate, then I drag. So that is how you duplicate, or you can do Control D if you want to duplicate that way. So now we're going to call this landing page, because this is where we're going to be building our landing page. Landing page, we're going to copy and we're going to paste here, landing page. So now the first thing we need to do is we are going to click on frame. So now we're going to choose the desktop frame here. So this is the desktop frame, right? We're going to zoom in. Then this, we're going to you can rename it to landing page or home page, depending on what you want to call it, right? So the first thing that we need to do is that we need a grid. We need a size grid. So what is grid? If you come to your left or right hand side, right, and you click on plus, you could see that there's this grid. So grids are guides. These guides us on not, of going past a particular side in your design, and it's very, very good, because you'll be using these both on Figma and you building the real site, right? When we are building it in, let's say, WordPress, Webflow, Framer, or wherever you want to build at the end of the day, grids are very important. So we're going to change this from grid to columns, right? So, and here we're going to use a 12 point, so 12 count, that's 1 2, you can count the whole thing, right? So I'm going to use stretch here. Then we're going to use the margin. So all these are very, very calculative. It is very, very important. I'll show you why. So take for example, now here we're going to use 60. By default, I usually use 180. So this is what 180 usually looks like, right? So majority of my websites I use this, but Tesla is quite different. Tesla has these edges at, it's very close to the edge. So we're going to reduce that to 60. So we have that edge, like the margin. So margin is anything outside, right? Anything outside this side. Those are the margins. So you are wondering where margin is affecting. Then gutter is the space between. So our gutter, we're going to use 32 is what we're going to use for our gutter. So this is just the column. The next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing the rows. So now to add the rows, all we just have to do is click on plus. Then same thing we did here. Come here and click on rows. Then here we are going to put it to 1000. So meaning as much as the site would be, dropping down, you would see what I mean. Even if we stretch the page, it continues. So the height, we are going to first, before touching the height, we're going to click it to top, meaning it's going to be at the top. then the height is going to be 8, more like an 8 point system. Then the gutter will be 20. Like I said, gutter is the space in between. So this just gives us an easy way to walk towards what we want to do. And it's always, you if you are a math nerd, you can actually do this. So now we have this, and this works very, very well for us. So whatever we are going to be building is going to be taking this size for Tesla. Now that we have this, all we have to do now is building our header and our body and start designing the main thing in the website. So now we are going to be creating the button components. But before we get there, you may be wondering, how do I turn off or turn this on? So all you have to do is hold Shift Control 4, right? It goes, that Shift Control 4, it comes back. So if you're wondering how to get that off or on. So now creating a button is actually very simple, but where it becomes tricky is if you are creating a component, meaning this button is going to be reused in more than one place. And the good reason why we are using component is so that whatever mistake we made, let's say for example now Tesla decides to change their button to red, they can easily apply it from one global settings and affect everywhere in the site. So the first thing we need to do is we need to actually check what our button size, right? So we're going to come down here. Why I'm using this button is this is one of the most frequent button in the system. So I can see that the button is using width of 160 by 40 in terms of height. So let's create that. So we're going to be using a frame. So we're just going to draw out a frame here. So we said the width is 160 and the height is 40. Okay, it may look small, right? But don't panic. Let's take it to our design, right? So this is the first thing that we would do. So as you can see, it looks almost normal on our design, but you might not be seeing the color. So what we need to do is we need to select the color. By default, if you remember, normally we'll just pick a color here, but because of we have a global settings or a color style guide, we have to pick it from here. So if you are seeing any other different colors and some weird colors you didn't put yourself, it's because of we had this thing called library. I'll show you how to remove it. So if you come to assets, right, you would see them here. How you can remove them is you come here, come to libraries, and click on remove. So we're going to remove them so that they don't confuse us in any way. And you can always add them later on. So if you come down to UI kits, you can find all the other components library. So this is not the stuff for today. So now looking at this, the first thing we need to do is we come back here and we're going to select blue. As you can see, this is the only component that we create that we are having here. So as you can see, this is blue, and if you check the site, you can see that it's actually balanced well inside the site. So we're going to be using this to create our component. So now I'm going to zoom in more so that we know what we are doing. So the first thing is, if you look at our site here, there's some important things to take note of. So looking around, we can have our button. We're going to check what that button is, and there's one other thing I want to also check, which I think that particular button kind of lack. Okay, it's this. So it has a radius. If you check very well, there's a curve at the edge. So we're going to apply that radius, and the radius is going to wait. If you're applying radius, is under appearance. So we're going to click on 4. That is the radius. And when you click on 4, the next thing we are going to do is we're going to bring in the text. And as you can see here, the font size of the text is 14. So all we just have to do is we're going to click on text, and we are going to, so for now I may not call it the name here, right? So I'm just going to call it well, we can just use one of the name it's used here, order now, but I'm going to change it later. Okay, so now order now, we're going to centralize it. If yours is not centralized, centralize it. So now if you normal, you may not find this, you may find something like this because I've already used the system. So just in case you saw something like this and you are not seeing what you just saw before this, right, all you just have to do is click on this, and you can see that we have all our text files here, and I'm going to click on 14. So we're not going to manually select it. So I'm going to select it so that whenever I change anything in the system, it's going to affect everything in the website. So imagine you are building a website that has up to 20 pages and you made a mistake with the font, maybe size or color or something, and you want to change everything at once, it's going to be chaotic. So doing this in the beginning saves you a lot of time in the future. So now doing this, we have the button order now. So we can call this our primary button. Okay. So calling this our primary button here, we now have to do something that you may not, most people do run away from. So which is giving it an auto layout. So auto layout is very important. So this is the reason why I give it auto layout, right? So take for example, now I have more text to write. You can see it's hogged. It hogs it very well. This is very, very important, just in case you have longer text, shorter text, and it auto expands by itself. So as you can see here, you have every other settings you want to do. So the layout is in this direction, that's horizontal, meaning whatever we're writing would go horizontal. If we bring it down, to bring it down here. So I'm not going to do so much here because it's not like a full-blown auto layout course, right? So as you can see, we have our spacings at the top, at the bottom, and you can manage everything here, right? So even if you even go to Tesla, you can see that there are some height and there are some spacing in between. So it is very, very important. So because we are building almost what's going to be on the website. So now the next thing we have to do is we're going to duplicate this. You can use Control D, right? Once you do Control D, it duplicates it to the other place. Then now we're going to call this secondary button. So once we call this secondary button, we have to change the color because this is not the color it is supposed to be. So now we'll just come down here and change it to off-white. Then the text color. Okay, yes, another thing again, primary thing we need to do is the text color. We didn't change it, so text color I'm going to change it to dark. Then also for this we have to change the text color to dark, just in, sorry, not dark, white. That's the off-white. So the reason why we are doing this is so that at the end of the day, we're going to use normal because I just checked Tesla site. It's using the normal white. So at the end of the day, in case there's any color change, it's going to affect everything in the website. So where there is white, if I say, okay, all my white to be off white, it's going to change there. So now we've created these two buttons. The next thing that we have to do here is we have to create a component. So now components are very, very important because this is where we're going to reuse things. So now to create a component, all you just have to do is select. Normally I can come here and I can select create just one component, meaning if I had one button, one component, but I want to create a component of primary and secondary button inside. So all I just need to do is I can batch create just one or create multiple, that's one separate. Then I can create a component set inside. So all I just need to do is component set inside. As you can see, it created a component set, meaning inside this particular buttons component I have primary buttons and I have secondary button. So this is what I have as a secondary button. Okay, so now I've labeled it buttons, so I have everything here. So on my right hand side I can have buttons. So now buttons can have things inside. When I mean it has things inside, it can have things like icons and text format or properties and whatnot, but we're only going to be doing text because this one only carries a text properties. So you understand what I'm saying? So if I click on this, you can see there are more properties where I can create variant, text, boolean, and instant swap. Instant swap is for in our further courses I'm going to explain more of this, but today we're going to just be creating text. So this is more like a variant of this, so if you want to understand more, but we're only going to do text. So in order to create text, it's not that difficult. We come down here, and once we select text, anything we select inside here, it's going to have his thing here. So we're going to click this. So when you click this, we're going to add a property. So I'm going to call this text, which is already a text as a property. Then we're going to call this text label because I've used something like that before. So I'm going to put label. So now I'm going to create text properties. So now, meaning I'm going to show you what this means very soon. So now same thing here. I come here, I click this, then I select this, meaning it is now using these settings. So now if I click here, I now have normal properties which has different variables, and I have a text label property, so I can also edit this whenever I want to edit. So let me show you what this means. If I take this outside my design, so I copy this, right? And I want to change the text label. So take for example, now I click on order now, automatically it changes. So without doing so much. So the same here, you can change the buttons, and there's a lot we can do with this. But for now, this is just what I want us to do. So now once you've created your button component, all you just have to do is take it to this place. So we have our button component here, and I would also show you how to apply the button component in your design. So take for example, now you did not copy, right, and you want to put in button inside your design. All you just have to do is you can come here, you can actually copy from there, while you can also come to your assets. You can come here and search button, and you can find your button component and select it. Then you click on insert, so your button insert in your design, and now you have your button here. You can do whatever you want to do. So now the next thing that we have to do is we are going to be building the header, right? So now the header is going to be almost the same thing like the one we have here, and the width is not the problem, just we need to get the correct height. So first thing we need to do is go back to this R2. Then I just have to pick one side. I can either pick from this side or pick from the other side. So now we are seeing that the height is 56. So we're just going to go back to our Figma site. Then we're going to use a frame. The reason why I use a frame over a shape is because of I'm going to be putting items inside it. So I'm going to click this, then I'm going to click on 56. As you can see, that is clean and sharp, right? So I can zoom in and I can see it, because Tesla has a very tight knit header. So the next thing that we're going to do, we have to make sure that it is hitting the edges, right? So now don't forget this, because we would not have to make sure things span out of proportion. So closing this, and we know we need the logo, we need this text, and we need this. So first of all, I need to know what so this is 14, size 14. Okay, cool. So this is size 14. Let's get to work. So the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to bring in the logo and all those other guys that we have here. So that is around here, these three guys. So now where do we get it? We are going to get it from our design. Remember these files? Yep. So we're going to zoom in. I think no, sorry about that. So first of all, we have to get the Tesla logo. But let's check if we can find the other files here. Yes, I've seen the asset one, asset two. Please tell me the other one is close by. Yes, good. So now we're going to copy this asset plus the Tesla asset. So as you can notice, they are almost all in frames, which is very important. It's very important to note they are almost all in frames, because this is help to position and align them. So I'm going to um, copy them, right, and I'm going to bring them here. So this is them. So now clicking on this, we have this, right? So this is the Tesla logo. Then let me just so this is it here. So just for viewing sake, I'm going to turn off my background to black, so we can actually see what we have. So now then this my head, I'm going to bring it front. So by default, this frame would not have any color, right? So we're going to add a color to it, and I'm going to add color style that we have already in our system, which is white. So we're going to add the Tesla logo. So now I'm going to bring this back so that we have things appropriately positioned. So here, let me zoom in. Then another thing again is, let me go to V, right? So now I want to reduce or shrink this, right? If I just do like this, let's say I do this, it might shrink or squeeze or stretch. So what we need to do is we need to press K. So once you press K, it's kind of you know locking everywhere, and you can easily do what you want to do here. So as you can see, we have this here, and I think we have these guys somewhere around here too. I don't think we need to reduce anything about them. And I'm going to zoom into them, and we need to check the arrangement, which come first, We have the question mark, the globe, and the oh, they actually arranged themselves properly. So also we are going to arrange them properly. I think they are arranged properly. Yes, if they were not arranged, you would have seen something here. Let me show you what that is. So if they were not arranged, if I selected them, you would see something here. So we'll use this to arrange them, but I'm going to use this to adjust the spacing. Right. So these three would come to the very edge in the center. Then we're going to zoom out. So we have the Tesla logo and we have this here. So now the next thing that we're going to have is going to be the items in the middle, which is the text. So we're going to have this here. So, and I feel like I need to group these guys so that it's going to be easy for arrangement. So let's just group them. So you don't need to frame them. Grouping is enough for this. So then we're going to have our text. So our first text is vehicles. I'm just going to write out this down so that we don't have to go through the whole, getting the spellings and everything. Okay, now, so we have them arranged properly, right? So as we've arranged them properly, all we just have to do is we have to create a layout. So the reason why we create a layout is, take for example, now I click D. I can easily add or remove or do anything I want. So that's, we created an auto layout out of them. It is very important. So I'm just going to drag them up here inside. You're supposed to enter inside the frame, right? Okay, yes, it's because of its white, so I'm going to change it to a dark color. Okay, so I'm going to have to tap each and every one of this frame. Then I'm going to change it to a dark color, so everything on the frame has changed. So we need to make sure everything looks aligned and positioned well. So I'm going to bring this to the middle. Right, this is already at the edge, this is already at the edge. This Tesla, I'm going to adjust it again a little bit so we have everything positioned, so I can select everybody in the position and centralize them to the middle if anyone is not in the middle. Then I'm going to turn off this so you can see what it looks like. Voila, I think we have a cute header. This is a cute header, right? So now we are going to, duplicate this, and we're going to call it header, and we're going to create a component out of it, because if we are which we are building a real site, right, these headers would have different pages, and you have to create the headers for all the different pages, as if you're actually building all the pages, right? So we're going to create this and create a component out of it, just in case we made a mistake and we did not know, right? We are just going to create it on ground, then adjust anything that we need to adjust in due time. So this is where we create our header. I'm just going to duplicate this so I can have what I would use on this site. So I'm just going to copy this, then I'll come here, I'll zoom in and right click, paste to replace, so that I would have the component there. Then remember that we changed this thing to white and to the dark color, from white to dark. So I'm going to go back to change it to white so that we have what we have on our Tesla site. So we're looking at it and it's almost the same thing. So that means we are doing something good. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on the hero section. So we're going to be building the hero section. So what is the hero section? So this section you're seeing is the hero section. So, and this is what we're going to be building. So now, in building a website, websites are being built in blocks. So just imagine an imaginary block, right? So now this may not be more than one block. So this may just be one block, right? Because majority of the time, all these arrows are functionalities in the hero section. All this, so this is just one block that has one images. If you come down here so that you understand properly what block means, so this is more like a two block, but one block is overflowing to the right hand side, you get. So now we have the section, then we have one, like the main role, that's one role, you have one section, you have, that's two sections here, but inside here you still have some, little sections inside it. So once you understand this, you'll be able to build website. So now for this, let's start. So the first thing we need to understand is we need to know what size. So and in order to know, we have to tap on it. So now, tapping on this, we have that, okay, this is a okay. So now the size of this is going to be the height. We're going to check the height because we don't have much business to do with the width. So the height is 560. So all we just have to do is we have to draw in. We're going to carry this. Sorry, we're going to carry this guy outside first. It should stay here. Then I'm going to increase the viewpoint of my, let's just put, so I need to see very well. Let me increase it to 65. Okay, yes, much better. So we're going to come to a frame. Yes, frame is very, very important. Then we're going to draw the frame first. Let's just draw the frame, and we're going to align it to the middle. If you want to, if your frame is scattered, let's say it is showing differently, you can just bring it this and to align it to the, okay. So the next thing that we are going to do is the height was set to be 560. So this is our 560 height. Then if you check, the next thing we have to do is bring in this image, because once we have the image, it's going to clear our doubts on whatever we are doing. So we're going to bring in the image, and to add the image, we're going to add a fill, meaning this is white, and we're going to select an image here. So selecting an image, we'll select this. We're going to select it from our computer. Remember our assets here, and we have a folder here that already has our JPEGs. Then we select this. As you can see, without much stress, we already have this here. So the next thing that we're going to be focusing on is we're going to be focusing on um, this side, that's the text. And to get the exact text, we're going to tap on it, and we see that okay, this is size 56, and the other things that follow it is going to be the buttons. So size 56, then buttons. So we're going to come to our text, write it here, and we're going to copy the text that we have model 3. So I think we saw 56. Do we have 56 here? Okay, so we don't have 56, but we have something closer that's around 48. So let's see if this works. To me, this still does the job. And remember, this has to be inside. So let's use a larger, like, okay, yes, let's use a larger number. So we have this, and note this must be inside this frame. So this frame is what we call the hero section. So I'm going to call this hero section. I know since we started this, we've not really paid attention to our layers because I didn't really, we don't really have much to do there. So yeah, we have this text. It's not one of the most brightest positions to put the text to, but it does the job. So here we have this. So we have our button, which we already had one button here before, but I think we have two buttons. So we're going to click here. I'm going to duplicate. That's holding alternate and shift. So looking at this, we have a good amount of spacing there. So we're going to select this and bring it down here. So now, instead of us changing color or changing anything, all we just have to do is switch from primary to secondary. Voila, we have that there. So we can zoom in to see what we have done. So we can zoom in and we can see what we have done, and this is actually beautiful. So now if you notice, the buttons are slightly different from the original buttons. Yeah, because I think this was one, but I think they just wanted to have white spacing and making sure the design looks much cleaner in a way, right? So I think we would have to just do that because they had a reason why, so it's going to look much spacious. So in order to do that, we need to know the exact okay, so 200 was used for the width, so we are going to use that. So you can select two items at the same time. So I'm going to just cancel this. Then I'm going to the width, I'm going to put it at 200. I thought that the height changed, so the height didn't change. Okay, so we have this, but for me, I feel like I may add a little bit of dark shade to it because I feel it's kind of still bright in a way. So how do we do that? So this is our hero section, then this is our color, then I'm going to add a little bit of darkness. So I feel this is much better. It's around 20. So what I did was I added a little bit of darkness to make it 20. At least it's still bright, it still shows you what it needs to show you, right? So now the next thing, we just order now and learn more. So we'll just tap on the button, that's the first button, and we just go here. automatically is going to change, and this one is going to be so. Then you can also group this, or instead of grouping we can use auto layout. So just in case, so we position it to the middle, right? So we have that space in there. So now we've done the first section of Tesla. So now we can preview our site. So how do we preview and even know if we are even doing something that is right or wrong? So we click on this button here and it's going to show us what we are looking for. Okay, so this is our site and this is the Tesla site. So as you can see, they are just slightly, let's use the full width. Okay, so this is how large it can go based on the settings. So as you can see, we have this, and if you check our Tesla site, we have this, but I think we can reduce this a little bit. So because of we have lesser control on this, we can actually add this to our style guide, right? This is 50, I think it was 58, right? So we had 58. Let's confirm that. 56. So we can add 56 to our style guide. How do we do that? So we can come down here and say, okay, this one, no problem. But we're going to reduce this and we're going to remove this and we're going to call this 56. 56. Then also here, so that we don't make any mistake, you're gonna call this 56. Then you select it, then we're going to click on this to generate, and it has created it. So now we're going to go back to this and we are going to select 56, right? So now we have the exact design. So also we can adjust, as you can see here, it's almost the same thing. So now we're left with the buttons by the left hand side and by the right hand side. So to do that, we are going to turn on this very that's shift control our grid, so that we can build the button on the left hand side. So we already have our icon, right? So all we just have to do is to pick our icon from, so we're going to pick this icon here and we are going to bring them to our design. So I'm just going to paste here. So checking Tesla's website, we have black, the black one, and it's on the grayish background. So it's already inside a fill zone, but we need to know the exact size of this, because knowing the exact size is very important. So we are going to come here. So it's using 40 by 40. So we're going to come down here and draw. So it's already in a container, right? So we're going to make that container 40 by 40. So making it 40 by 40. So we'll do the same thing to, yeah, okay. So we'll do the same thing to the other one, right? Changing it to 40. So now once we are done with that, we are going to use the background is going to be off white. I think we already, let's turn this one off so that we know what we're doing. Okay, yes. So the background is going to be off white. Then the button itself is going to be dark. So now we also have curves. It also has curves and is using four. I think there's a consistent curve with it, so they're using a consistent curve across. So same thing we're going to do here too. Is we're going to have consistent curve of 4. I'm turn this one on and change it to off white, and also the text inside. So I think we have that. So now to position very well, let's turn this on here. So we have this here and here. So now let me change my view size to 65, so that we make sure that they are both centralized. So I'm going to go back to my positioning, bring them to the middle, and yes, this is the exact middle of the site. So now we can preview it. It's going to change, just give it a while, right? So now we have this. If we look at this, cancel this, we have this here. So now our site is looking exactly like the Tesla site. Isn't that nice? So the last few things that we need to do is these buttons here. Checking the size is also very important. This is just going to just give us perspective to what we are trying to do. Okay, so I'm seeing 20 here. So we are going to use 20. Let's just assume it's 20 because getting that exact size would be a problem. So all we just have to do, let's just turn this one off. And we're going to zoom in a little bit. And at the bottom here, we are going to change this to cycle. Let me see 20. Sorry, I didn't group this. Perspective, yeah, ratio to this, it is not too big. It isn't too big. It isn't too big. Okay, so now we're going to do that, but I just feel like let me just give it 16, small 16. Let me see 16. Yeah, 16 does me better. I would use this to know. I think 70 gives us a more closure. Yeah, okay, yes. I think that will be much better. So now we're going to duplicate it into 3 places, right? So now for by the default, I think we're going to use this gray out, right? So try the off-white. I'm coming, I'm checking. Okay, so I feel so it is gray, but a different kind of gray. So that is one color we've not picked out in our design yet. Okay, so I think they reduced the opacity of the white. So that is what was used there. So first we're going to choose the white for everything. Then the ones that are not white, we're going to reduce the opacity to 50. So as you can see, that's exactly what we have in there, right? So as you can see that, so we have this, we are going to group them together, or we're actually going to use auto layout to group them together. So then we can also, when we use auto layout on them, I need to reduce this, yep, then give it auto layout. So now we would now bring this to the middle. We can tell it to be in the middle, so automatically it's going to centralize to the middle of the site. Then we can check our designs, check this. Okay, I think we need to reduce our size. I think it's too big, the size for each and every one of them. So I think this works. So we'll position them in the middle. Okay, I think it's already in the middle. So now this is our hero section, and as you can see, we have this here. So also, if you want to have a tablet view, meaning you want to see how it looks like prototyped in a website, we can come down to prototype here and come down to prototype settings, then choose device. Then we can choose the Surface Pro if you want to use this. So you can choose based on the size that we have 1440. You can look for any other 1440 that suits you, but I think that's the only one for that I think it's that's here. So once you do that, automatically this should be able to adjust itself to that. Yes, then all I just need to do is going to refresh itself. As it's refreshing itself, let's do the needful. And as you can see, this is our Tesla site. So almost the same thing that we have here. And if there's anything that is looking off, we can always adjust it, right? So our hero section is done. The next things that we're going to work on is on the body. Now we're going to be working on Tesla's body. That's this side of this section. So we're going to start with this, and to start with this, we need to know the exact position. Or okay, so for this first frame, we have the width of 1024 and we have a height of 580. So let's get that done. So we're going to draw a frame. So remember to turn this on so we get to understand this. So we have, okay, so after doing that, you may not see anything because of it's white. So then we're going to give the edges around 8. Then once we've done this, I think the position between this and this should be, let's just give it 50. So I think that is okay. Let's just adjust this like this, in as much as it's still using the stuff. So now let's put in the image. So once we bring in the image, I feel everything will now start sitting normal. So let's bring in the image. Let's turn this one off. So, and we're going to bring in the image. But for bringing the, so let's bring in the image. By doing that, we're going to click on this. Then we're going to click on upload. Then the image that is there is this. Let's confirm. Yes, we have that. And the next thing again we're going to do is we're going to bring this in. So copying it, we need to also know the size because it's not just about copying. This is 17, this is 28, and this is 20. Okay, 17, 48, 20. So we already have something like that. So we are just going to bring it here, and since it's 17, we just give it 16, so it's not a biggie. So push it somewhere here. So since we're using guide, let's start it. You know, that'll be too much. All right, let's position it. We're going to duplicate it. I think this is 48. Then position it to the that we don't make that mistake. So we, and I think this is model Y, capital letter Y. Then turn this off. So we're going to check this again. Then we're going to copy this text, duplicate it. Because of it was a link, that's why it's coming in as a link. So here is 20. Then I'm going to click on settings, and first before I click on settings, let's reduce this to 20 first. So this is 20. Let's zoom in so that we see what we are doing. So now this 20, if you notice, it's not kind of balanced in a way. So all you just have to do is click on this, click on this, then the thickness, let's arrange the thickness to be, let's just say 10. Then this, good. What do we have here? Okay, I think our thickness, we have to reduce it. Yeah, 4.5 is okay. So we have that there. Then we are going to bring in our buttons. Okay, so bringing in our button, we have to rearrange this again. Okay, so once I arrange it to something suitable for me, I check. We have to reset this because this is not using the original size of our button. So we're going to click here to reset. Then same thing we're going to do with this. We're going to reset. And we're going to change text label to the original text label that it's supposed to be for this particular page, as order now and learn more. So we just tap on it. Okay, so once we are done with this, we can check to preview and see if what we have here is what we have here. And I think we did a wonderful job to get that there. So I think that is correct. So now the next thing we're going to do is we are going to, okay, so let's see if we can extend it to this here. So if you notice, when I extended it, this moved, right? So what we're going to do to fix that is, this is also a very good thing to understand in Figma. Sometimes when you move your frames, things like this move, or objects or items or frames inside move. So you have to control that. So the header is using a position of top to right. So that meaning if you move anything left, this wouldn't move. If I move this, it wouldn't shake anything inside. But if I do this, everything moves. And if I do this, things move. You get. So the reason why I'm extending it is I want to start the new frame. That's this new frame from that side, right? So meaning if I duplicate, I'm starting the new frame from this side. So this is our new frame. I want to make sure it's aligned properly. Then we're going to change the images that are supposed to be there. That's the lady on and the text. Okay, so it's for me to change the background. To change the background, I'm going to click here. Okay, so we are done with that. So the next thing we're going to do is that we're going to duplicate this. And as you can see, it's not showing. The reason why is that we are using white. So all we just have to do is just to switch the color. And I think this is 4. We have 4 of it. That we have that there. So that is this section. Doing this, I think we've gotten what we wanted. So we can check this and make sure everything is as it should. If you've gotten this far, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And also, you can join our private community where we, share ideas. You can speak one-on-one with me, and also all the files that we're going to be using here would be in the community. So this is one way for us to help designers and keep the videos and everything running. So you can, that's different currency. You don't have to choose a particular one. So as we have this here, the next section that we need to work on is this section. So now all we just have to do is figure out the size of this. So we're going to click on this. We're back to him. So okay, we have 700 by 264, 700, which is the width, 264. I'm more interested in the height. So this is the reason why I'm more interested in the height. So if I do this, right, say for example, now I have this and I duplicated, right, I may not have exactly, sorry, I didn't duplicate the right one. Let me go back here. I duplicated this, let me duplicate this here. Oh, this is perfect, as in I'm having a good eye gauge. Okay, so we even had a perfect shape, so we will not use the same length because of Tesla's own is a little bit wider, right? So but we have the same idea, so I'm going to add a fill to it and we are going to use the card. So I'm going to do this. Then also we have to make sure it is the distance, same distance with all our cursors, 50. So 50 here, 50 here, so the spacings between each section. So I'm going to draw a shape inside here, so that is going to be used for image I'm going to place inside. So we're going to have that there. Then another thing we didn't do is we did not work on the radius, which is 8. So we have that radius, so that's little curves. If you're wondering what the radius are, that is the little curves at the edge. So now we're going to place this with the image that we have here. So we're gonna have this. So now I'm feeling the off-white should do a better job. Yes, because that was looking contrasting to my eye. So preferably let's use off-white for that. So the next thing we need to do is we need to know the exact sizes of this. So we have this to be 34 and I think this should be 20. So all we just have to do is just drag from here. I think 36 should work, 20. So we change the colors. Okay, just realizing we didn't use, let me see, did I do the same mistake here? Yes, I did the same thing. So we didn't use the colors, the global colors for this. So we just used the global colors for them here, right? So going back to this here, I think we would use a lighter gray. Exactly. Perfect. So all we just have to do is copy the text. So I'm going to duplicate this because we have white, and I'm going to change the color from off-white to pure white. So I'm going to check this. I think that is that. It's longer, but for me, I'm just going to leave it because I don't feel using a longer one. Oh, let's just do, because we actually just let's just use a longer one, since here this is a longer one. I think this is the longest. Yes, perfect. Let's just do as the overlords want us to do at Tesla. Yep. So we have that as white, and make sure everybody's aligned to the right properly. Good. So now once we have this, and let's take a good look and make sure we are not missing anything, we copy and we can paste to replace. That's one good way, and it's not going to be there. So the good thing is, so we're going to just replace this. Okay, so we're going to change the text annual meetings. So one good thing we can do, so that if we can use auto layout, right? So if I add these two together, let's try it, and I use auto layout. Okay, so that's why I didn't want that. So first of all, I would auto layout this first, then I would now join these two together, right? As you can see, it has done what I want it to do for me. So I'm just going to delete these two, right? So you see the reason why I used auto layout, paste to replace. So things like this that would spiral beyond a particular line, and so instead of us to just manually adjust things, if we just paste this, automatically it drops down chef keys, right? So we copy this and paste it. Isn't that beautiful? Without racking our brains to now rearrange things and the rest. That's one way to use auto layouts. So I'm also someone that kind of shy away from auto layout, but when it's very important, I use it for the most simplest things, as simple as possible. You get. So that is that for this. Now let's get into the next section, which is going to be this one here. Before going that, there is something here we kind of missed, right? So all we just have to do is we're just going to select it, right? Hold our alternate and drag it way down. Yep, somewhere around there. So that is the middle. That is to just show that, this is a slider. Then we're going to work on the next section. So the next section we're going to be working on is this section. So it's almost the same thing like this section that we have. So we're only going to just duplicate it. So also watch for, yeah, so we have 50, but note that here this spacing and this spacing is here, so we have to turn this on. And I think this is going to be a fair, yes, this is going to be a fair positioning. And if I duplicate this and increase it like this, perfect. I think this is perfect. Chef kiss. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is we are going to start replacing things, right? So this, we are going to copy the text, and also the button, we are going to adjust it. So we zoom in and we're going to remove this because we don't need this anymore. So we're going to adjust this here. Then we check the buttons. So this is demo, drive, learn more. Okay, good. So we look at it again, and is there anything very important? So the background and this. So the background, we are going to change it. Okay, we're going to remove this guy, not it again. So the background, it's a video, and for this particular Figma, it's a free Figma. So you can actually put a video in the background, but this time around we don't have a video, so we're just going to put the image here. Okay, good. So the next thing is we're going to copy this, right, and paste it here. No, not that. And it's going to position it here. So now zooming in, we are going to look for that play button in our files. Okay, so we're only going to copy the play button itself, come down to our design file, paste to replace. So all we just have to do is the background is off white. Let's see if we reduce the opacity to 30. Let's see. Then, but the button, we have to take it upward. But we have to increase the opacity to something like, let's say 50. Did they use white or dark? Okay, they use the darker color. So we're going to use this. Then we are going to change this to white. Okay, there you go. So I don't think we have problem with that. So now we're going to work on this. So we're going to delete this. Then the background, we're just going to copy this text as usual. Delete this. So we're not going to touch the button because the button size is, positioning is as it should be with these other ones. Okay, here you go. So we have this. So I feel we can bring down the button. I think the buttons here, I think for everybody here, we can adjust the button and everything. Let's bring it. So I'm holding shift and my mouse button to select. So then I'm gonna drag everybody down, so we have that nice, neat, even adjustment on everybody. Yeah, so I just felt like the space at the bottom was just too much. So we have that, and I think this is this. Let's check and see if we, okay, just discover. Then we are going to remove this, and we're going to remove it from the auto layout because it's not supposed to be inside any frame. So we're going to just delete the auto layout, then rename this. Okay, so we are done. The next section is almost we'll just say it's the same thing as this. So we're just going to duplicate it. So let's add this, then you're going to drag it down. So now we're going to check what's the difference, the house, the text. We're just going to copy and paste. So I'm just going to do this. We already know how to do this, so I'll just do this on my own here. So the only slight difference is this one here, right? We are only just going to remove, let me zoom in. We're going to still select this, and we're going to remove the underline stuff that we did just by doing this. So you have this here. Then we're going to replace this and order now, learn more. I think that's what is supposed to be there. So we're going to just copy this. So one thing with design, if you, as much as you can, don't stress yourself, paste to replace. Then we remove all this at the top. Okay, so we have this, right? So, and the last thing that we are going to do in this section is our footer. So our footer is not that delegate, it's this. So each of this thing here, we can actually have our footer here. So we're going to come down Oh geez, I just did something very bad. So now this is a good lesson, right? Take for example, now you made this mistake by taking up something here and changing it here. Then you now ask yourself, okay, how do I just get this back, right? Without going back. There's no way we have to rebuild this from scratch. It's a good thing it happened, right? So what do we do? So there's what we call version history. So we're going to come down here, so we're going to go to files, then we're going to click on show version history. So we're going to go back to a time where things was okay, then copy what we want. I think this is what we want, right? Yes, we copy what we want, then we're just going to go back to files. No, not back to files, back to files. Sorry, if you went back to files, it still does the same job, right? So as I was saying, once you copy the one you want, just click on X, please. So once you click on X, you can go back, then we paste here. So as you can see, we have what we had before. So we're going to make sure everything it's good. So the only difference that we need is just to copy this and take it. So that is how to bring something back from I don't want to use the DEAD word, right? So right now the next thing that we need to do is the footer. So the footer was what brought us to that a little bit of a calamity, right? So we're going to do the footer. So the same way we did the header, the footer is also going to be a component. So now all we just have to do is create this. So now in order to create the footer, we're going to duplicate the header. Here's the reason why. So once we duplicate the header, because the header already has things that we like, so we're going to click on this. Then notice this is still showing a component because of this purple thingy here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here and I'm going to say detach instance, meaning I'm going to convert it to a normal frame. So once I've converted it to a normal frame, I'm going to delete all the other things that we don't need, right? So once I delete the things that we don't need, I'm going to zoom in. Then if you go to this, you could notice this. So we're just going to copy this one after the other. So I'm going to do this in the background. Okay, so I have added each and every one of the text. So I'm going to reduce and position it. So now, as you can see, I'm going to change this to footer. Then I'm going to confirm the exact size. So it's using 12 because I noticed it was way smaller than I imagined. Then we're going to select each and every one of them. So I held down Control Shift and my mouse to select. Then I'm going to select 12. Then I'm going to position it in the middle. Okay, so once you are done, all we just have to do is we would have to create a component out of this. So we click on create component. So this is my footer component, and as usual, I'm going to drag it to where all my components are. So as I click here, all I just need to do is just duplicate. Then I click on X, that's to cut, Control X, not X like X, Control X. Then I'm going to paste. So it's going to be here, and I'm going to drag it down here. So now I make sure it's touching every side, then I hit at the bottom here. So now I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to click on this, meaning I'm going to show you what this is. So if I select this here, I zoom in, and even if I drag this page up and down, this footer would follow it. So wherever it goes, right? So now let's check the distance between the footer and any other thing else, right? So I think they kept a very large space in between. So that's no biggie. So if you want to leave yours like that, no problem. But I think for Tesla, they kept a very big space at the bottom, so we can actually do that. But at the end of the day, we've done our footer, and whatever you want to do from here is just left to you, right? So if you want to position it in the bottom like that, or you want to just make it stick. So but based on we are recloning or recreating Tesla sites, we will just do as did. Okay, so we're going to be creating this floating menu here. So this floating menu is one constant thing that's always come down on the page. So to create this, we are going to, it's almost the same thing as the header, right? So we're going to be using the header element to do that. So we're going to duplicate this again, right? So we're going to duplicate it here, then we're going to detach, right? So we're going to call this floating header. If I get the spellings right. Okay, so floating header, and what does our floating header has to this button, then this. So let's get that done. So we're gonna, do we need any of this text for now? I know we don't need this. We don't need any of this for now. Then the height should be around 60. Okay, so having this here, the first thing is we're going to draw in this section. So instead of using a shape normal, right, we are going to make use of a frame. So a frame inside a frame. So we're going to, so we don't need any form of calculation by eye gauge. We're supposed to already kind of know what's up inside there. So I'm just going to cancel this so that I don't keep tapping on it. Then we know that this is a serious amount of off-white here. So we're going to select that, and we're going to use that as our background. Okay, so now then we have a stroke. We've not used stroke right from since when we've started this. Then we are going to, it's an outside stroke, and we are going to make use of this gray. That is it. It has a different color. Okay, so I don't guess, I'm going to pick the color here. So these colors may not be in our so if you want to cancel a color here, you can just cancel it here. So these colors may not be in our design system. I thought as much. Then yeah, okay. So we have that. Then I would add 4 as our curve, right? So we have our curve there. So the next thing we're going to add is we're going to add our text. I think this should be 14, right? So we're going to add our text. Okay, so we're going to ask a question, and let's make sure this is inside. Yes, this is inside here. And the next thing we're going to do is that we're going to add this icon. So we're going to go to our icon area. Okay, I'm going to copy both of them. I'm going to paste. So as for this, I'm going to have it a little bit here. Then we're going to change it to, so we select the main thing that we need to change to gray. So yeah, so we have that. Then there is this question thingy. So now that I would have to pick the color. So we have to pick the color. I don't think we have that color. I think it's even a fade of something. So let's say we use the normal color of this as a background, and arrow, we're going to use white as it should. Then the curve, I think that thing curved up to 8. No, okay, let's use 4. Yeah, 4. So if we're using 4, I don't know why I was changing it. Okay, so we have that, and let's reduce the opacity. Let's say the opacity is 40. Okay, yes, they reduced the opacity. So the opacity was 30. Let's give it 20 exactly. So it's still the same color that we made use of. Okay, so exactly once we do that, it hits the same thing. We are going to, so this is just more like a text highlight, right? More like a text highlight. So I'm just going to do this. Okay, so once we are done with that, we are just going to reduce the color to gray, and we are going to fade it a little bit. Let's just give it an appearance of 60. So we have this. Once I think everything about this is cool, then we're going to duplicate, and we're going to add the other one. So for adding the other one, let's remove this. And when I mean the other one, we're going to be adding this here. So let me just screen grab it, because I think screen grabbing would allow us not to move from one screen to another screen. Good. So we have this. So I'm just going to replace, let me just copy this text. I'm going to change and look for the steering wheel. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to paste to replace. Then once we have that, we're going to change the color to that of the blue, and I think we have that. I think we can delete this guys now. Also delete this. Then we're going to position this to the middle. So now the next thing that is very important is we are going to create a shadow. So before I convert it to a what do we call this, component, right? Let me create the shadow first. So to create a shadow, expect, if you are wondering what I mean by shadow, if you notice there's a shadow here around this place. So I'm going to create the shadow. All I'm going to do is I'm going to come to effect. Then as you can see, the shadow may not be showing. Let me drag this up. It's going to show at the bottom, but we don't want the shadows to show at the bottom, so we have to come back to effects. Where it's showing at the Y, we want it to show there. Yes. Then if there's anything at the sides, check very well. Everything looks okay. Then I just want to give it 15. Good. I think this is perfect for what we want to do. Okay. So I think this is perfect, right? This is perfect. So now we're going to create a component out of it. So this is the component itself. Then we're going to just duplicate and so we're just going to align it, right? Is aligned. So now this will just take it to where we have other items in our design. So this is how you start creating a design system. So design systems are created from scratch, like step by step processes, right? So now the next thing is that I'm going to make here a sticky menu. So now how do I make this a sticky menu? Okay, so the next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating this sticky header and also this stuff here that is sticky as well. So how are we going to do that in our design? So the first thing is this, our header. So right, we come to prototype, right, and we're going to click on sticky at the top. Then at the bottom, we are going to take this guy. So it may be inconvenient. Once you've designed it, you can leave it here. But if you're ready to prototype or send it to someone for presentation, then you can adjust where it is. And I think it should be here. So you can use your prototype design to actually check the distance between what you're doing. So I think it's already coming up, right? So I think it's somewhere here. Okay, just a little bit there. So this is good. So now you can see it here. The next thing we have to do is we're going to say stay in place. So when we come to our design and we are going down, right? Okay, so as we can see it here, it's actually, this is already fixed, it's not shaking, and we can see everything that's going on. But this here, the header did not. Let's try one thing. Let's bring it to the very top of our design and let's try it again. So as you can see, that fixed the problem. So it was just a simple thing of hierarchy. So we had hierarchy issues. So as you can see, we have our Tesla, we have this, and we have everything as it should be. So don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this to anyone you feel like needs to learn.